Hello, everyone. What an evening. My goodness, tonight, the president back in the White House, and the media doesn't quite seem to know what to do. I mean, how dare he, right? How dare he get better? Hello, everyone. Welcome to the Trish Regan Show. I am Trish Regan, and we as a nation certainly have reason to celebrate right now. This is one that, I don't think should be all that controversial. We should be united as a country, wanting the president to be back in the White House. The idea that somehow you wouldn't, is absolutely positively preposterous. And yet you have people on the left right now that again are saying, how dare he get better? Think about that. Think about where we are as a place, or the place we are in currently as a country. Think about Michael Moore just on Friday, tweeting that maybe this was one big conspiracy theory. In fact, let me tell you, this is what you're seeing right now. As the president goes back to the White House, as the president gets back to work, we have all these leftist conspiracy theories that are floating around the internet. Oh, he never really had coronavirus. This was just a move to try and gain some sympathy. I tell you, he could gain some sympathy with this one. How can you not feel sympathy? I think about it and say, hey, the guy was coming down with a deadly virus that night he was on the debate stage. Can you blame him for getting a little testy with Chris Wallace and Joe Biden? Hey, I'd do the same, wouldn't you? Anyway, as far as the left trying to say this is a sympathy play, it's not actually something to laugh at, because there's a real danger in that they're feeding into something that, once again, is really fake. Think of how seriously the left and the country treated the whole Russia conspiracy theory, right? And then that was disproved. Let's not go down the path of more conspiracy theories. Thank you very much, Michael Moore. All that said, I do believe it is a good sympathy play. I do believe that having gone through what he just went through, America will feel differently. This is a very fast-moving news cycle, if you haven't noticed, right? And each and every day has these wild swings. You saw a recent poll by the Wall Street Journal and NBC News that showed that there was a 14-point gap between Joe Biden and Donald Trump. Well, that was yesterday. Right? Let's see what happens today. It's good to have you all here. Thank you for writing in. You can keep writing in. I encourage you to do so. It's nice to be able to talk directly like this. But again, the left is floating a lot of conspiracy theories right now. And I think that we all need to be very, very careful. The president indeed was sick. We've had it confirmed by the White House that he was on oxygen on Friday. And you know what? There's nothing wrong with that. Nothing wrong with a little vulnerability when it comes to an illness like this. He is pointing out that in some ways, I think it has changed him, right? He's looking at the situation a little bit more differently, but he's also saying that you can fight it and that he's living proof. I do suspect that the left will continue, though, these attacks. Think about what they did when he just went out for the little, as they called it, joyride, to say hi to his supporters that had stood out there all day, bringing the rally effectively to him, and he wanted to show something back. Well, I hate to break it to them, but Secret Service is kind of like with you all the time, anywhere you go as president, in small spaces, in small hospital rooms, in small headquarters, hospital offices, shall we say. So there wasn't anything tremendously unusual about being that close to the Secret Service, but anything they can use right now against him, they will. And what it is, effectively, is one giant sideshow. And I tell you this because when we go to the voting booths on November 3rd, or when you cast your mail-in ballot, the reality is you're voting for our future. You're voting for our country. You're voting for the future of the U.S. economy. All right, they're going to try and tell you that you're voting good versus evil, that Donald Trump is all things bad. Hey, you know what's bad? You know what's bad? Not being able to care for your family, not having a job, not having a coronavirus stimulus bill get through the House and Senate because you've got Democrats that are so darn political, they're so absorbed in their own tit for tat that they've got going on and insisting that we need illegal immigrants to get stimulus checks, that they're going to prevent mom and pop businesses from staying open. Mom and pop businesses are risking bankruptcy right now. People are in bad situations where they can't go back to work and they're not going to get a coronavirus stimulus check. Listen, I'm not one for just printing money. I don't buy that. I don't believe in it. I think it's an extremely dangerous path to go down, but it is what it is right now. And so, if anything, government needs to help in those moments of crises, and they need to move fast. We can't have all this bureaucratic nonsense. Anyway, I want to get on to what the consequences are, right? If they don't actually do this now. If they don't actually do this now, if we don't get the coronavirus stimulus passed, if we see the Democrats in charge of the House, of the Senate, and of the Oval Office, then get ready, because the 1970s are going to start looking pretty good. I was just a little kid in the 70s, but I remember in 1979, my parents bought a diesel engine car, because we were trying to avoid all those long lines at the gas stations. Remember that? Thank you very much, Jimmy Carter. Related to OPEC, and we can talk about that in a second. But consequently, we went out and got a diesel car in hopes that we'd avoid the long lines. And we avoided the long lines. The only problem was no one carried diesel. So it was a little bit tricky. But that was a problem back then. And you think about the era that it was between the sideburns and the bell bottoms and the shag carpet. Not a good look. And guess what? We could be doing it all over again. Really. I mean, I'm not exaggerating, because what happened in the 1970s, all right, you had low growth, high unemployment, low growth, and high inflation, like hyperinflation. Prices were going up, 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 up. And you know why? In part because of commodities prices. You had the Middle East running its cartel there, jacking up oil prices, and we all paid the price. Well, what is the similarity today? I'll tell you what it is. It's China. So China's over there racking up commodity prices. They don't play by normal market supply-demand rules. China has effectively a run on silver and a run on copper, up 27% on copper, silver, up 40% on copper. And guess what? This causes inflationary pressures in our economy. And that's going to continue regardless of how badly we're doing. So that's one similarity. And I'll tell you about the other similarity that you got to think about right now. And that is, back in the 70s, Nixon abandoned the gold standard. Well, what is the modern day equivalent of it? Think about it for a second. The modern day equivalent is actually none other than the Fed abandoning its discipline, guarding against inflation. So, hello, we could be dealing with the 1970s all over again. We got hyperinflation possibly and low growth. It could happen. You know, economists thought it couldn't. They thought this is impossible. They had like the whole thing charted out with the Phillips curve and, the relationship between employment and the overall economy and inflation, blah, blah, blah. Well, it happened. It happened, and it could happen again. And you know what? I'll tell you, we're lucky if we're going to get the 70s, because the alternative, and this is what I really, really worry about, is the 1930s. My fear, however, is if you get a Democratic sweep, you might see a little combination of the 70s and the 30s. The 30s with these socialist-style programs. Don't forget, FDR loved those. FDR tried to pack the court. This is exactly what they're going to do. I mean, there are real things at stake right now. So I am glad the president is back at the Oval Office. I think it's important he be there. It's going to be challenging for staff. You saw, of course, that Kayleigh McEnany, the press person, came down with this today. And I know how scary this is right now for everybody there. And so he needs to do what he can to positively isolate himself as much as possible, as much as he can. But simultaneously, we also, as a country, need to get back to work. We need our economy open. They cannot just indefinitely shut the thing down. I mean, 7.9% unemployment was actually kind of decent the other day, right? I'll take it in light of what's going on. 7.9%, think about that. I mean, they didn't think we'd get to 8.4% by the end of the year, and now we're at 7.9. So it shows you, and this is without all states open, so it shows you that we do have the ability, right, if government gets out of the way, to move forward. And I guess what I would just try and emphasize right now is, don't forget what this election really is about. It is about our future. It is about our economy. And you can get distracted by the sideshow, and you can get distracted by the media. But at my core, I believe in policy that will ensure freedom, right? Freedom of speech, which is very much under attack. Freedom to protect ourselves, also very much under attack. And freedom to prosper. We are a capitalist nation. We cannot allow them to make us anything else. It is so good to see you all tonight. Thank you so much for watching the Trish Regan Show. I'll see you back here tomorrow.